Okay, so we are now looking here at Lab Activity 5K. This particular activity and the part that is shown here on our drawing is exactly the same as the part with 5J, although I kind of hate it when textbook companies do this. They've eliminated some of the information that's on here because if you remember from looking at Lab Activity 5J, the overall length of this part was 6 inches, and we were also given dimensions of 1/2 inch from this edge to this feature here, and 1/2 inch from this edge to the shoulder here as well. So we're going to have to kind of remember those a little bit on this when we take a look at this. But and ideally I've added a couple of points just to kind of go through to help you understand the assignment on Lab Activity 5J when you start to look at that as well. So let's start here with the X and Y coordinate for point number 1, which is the center of the slot on this part right here. And this is, we can see very plainly in the X that we are given a dimension of 2.188. So our X here for 1 is going to be 2.188. Give yourself a little bit more room on your chart when you do this than what I did. And again, since this is a direct dimension to that point, we can also read the direct dimension right here of 1.5. And we know that is our Y. But since this is our Y0 right here, and we're going in the negative direction in the Y, it's going to be a minus 1.5 in the Y. So we'll make that 1 minus 1.5. And now we're going to look over here at 2. Well, since we're at the same point here in our Y, we know that 2 is going to be minus 1.5 as well. And in order to figure out what the X coordinate here is for point 2, we need to add 2.188 to 1.625. So we'll go real quick. The 2 plus the 1 is 3, and then 625, and 185. We're looking at 313. So that'll be 3.313. You guys check my math. I'm doing that in my head, but I think that's right. And then we're seeing now here point number 3, and it's moved over, and right here is where we're looking at the coordinate for this point right here. Well, you ask yourself, okay, well, where do I see that, and how do I know what that is? Well, as we look at this feature, so we've got this leader line right here that comes up and shows us radius 0.188. So that means that this is a basically a 3/16 radius, 0.188, and we would add that radius onto this. So what our X of 3.313 was, now we're going to add 188, so that our X is going to be 3.500. So as far as our, we don't know what units it is. We assume that it is in inches, but it could be in millimeters as well, but most likely it's in inches. And of course our Y is there at the same dimension line here, so our Y for point 3 is minus 1.5 as well. So that gives us our X and Y coordinates for points 1, 2, and 3. I went ahead and added point 4 here just so we can kind of practice. And if we remember, if we were total a distance of 6, and we had a 1/2 inch from here to here in our dimensions, and then we were 5 inches on this boss, 5 inches from here to here. So we would take the 1/2 inch plus the 5 inches. So, and then again, we would have to go back and subtract from this to get to this point. Well, what do we subtract from there? Well, that is a 3/8 by 45 degree chamfer. So that means that from this point, we will be 3/8 of an inch going this way, and we will be 3/8 of an inch going down that way. So we'll go ahead and take that overall, which would be our 5.5 inches, and subtract 3/8. So our X point right here will be 5 1/8. So our X for 0.4 is 5.125. And our Y is at negative 0.5. Where's that coming from? Again, that's coming from Lab Activity 5K, which is using the same part, only 5K has this slot in it, whereas 5J does not. But the part itself is more or less the same. And then as we go with 0.5, so now we know from here to here is 1/2 inch. So this point would be in the Y minus 0.5, but we have to add that 3/8 there too. So this would become, our Y here would become minus 0.875. And our X, of course, is the 1/2 inch plus the 5 inches, which would be 5.5. And that would be how we configure the coordinates for this particular part and these different points that were there. So now you guys go ahead and take a look at Lab Activity 5J, and that one, it's asking you to give this point, that point, and the center point right there. You have to review a little bit about your geometry and what you remember about geometry with radiuses and diameters and their center point, and how we fully define those in terms of the Cartesian coordinate system. So go ahead and good luck. If you have any questions, send me an email.